This is Neil Schneider from Meant to Be Seen at GDC 2018. To my immediate right is Nico Navarro. He is the Chief Business Development Officer for a company called Gamebook. Welcome to the program, Nico.
Thanks, hello.
So tell us, we're all very excited about things about future computing here. And I understand you've got an Alexa with you. Why don't you hold Alexa up?
Yeah, I got Alexa here because that's one of the things we can do. We can produce stories for Alexa directly out of our technology. You write an interactive storyline, you press export, and you can hear it on Alexa.
So for those unfamiliar, and I know they're few and far between right now, tell us what is Alexa? Like what does she do?
Oh, Alexa is actually assistant, a digital assistant from Amazon. And normally she's used for shopping or to get a pizza or even to get a cooking recipe if you don't know what's in your fridge or you're not sure what you can make out of it. And she's rarely used for games, for entertainment, sometimes quizzes. And we are using her exclusively to make interactive games, interactive stories.
Okay, so what kind of games can you do with Alexa? Because it's not a very visual thing, it's all about what you hear.
Yeah, that's really something where your brain is teased. So we're doing mostly role-playing like or adventure-like games, choose your own adventure stuff. So anything from you're in a dark dungeon, do you want to go to the west through the moldy passage, or do you want to go to the right where it's dusty and not well lit? And you're just can choose where to go and things happen there. We have written an adventure where you're the best friend of a super spy and you have to help him whenever he's in trouble. He's calling you and he's like, okay, you have to find a way out of that. So from humor to horror, we are always doing things where you directly talk to the person on the other end of the line.
Now, I understand this is a software tool to help create things like that, but are games like this popular? Are they a big thing on Alexa?
Well, Bezos thinks that this is going to be the next big thing on Alexa. He's estimating that in the next 10 years it will be about $6 billion to $16 billion spent on games like that. But for us, this is like the tip of the iceberg. We have made a software that allows you to create any kind of interactive stories, so you can do it even for mobile apps.
Okay. Now, before Gamebook, how would a content creator have dealt with Alexa? What process would they have gone through?
There are some very programmer-like software out there where you have to do a lot of script writing and which are not very visual and not very easy to handle. So for a writer it would have been hard to do. You would have to be a very programming mind to do it actually.
Okay, so what does Gamebook do?
Gamebook is a visual representation of your story. So it's a complete production pipeline where you're creating your story from modules. You're writing a module where you're explaining how the story goes, and then you have a choice, and then the graph splits up and you can go either way, and you're creating more modules, and you can even remember decisions the player already made and reference them later. So if you find a sword which is actually good for fighting but also the key to open a door, then the system will know you have the sword and will remember that you have taken the sword along.
Okay, so when I got a look at the software, it looked like a series of almost like a flowchart, right? Where you design what happens with A and B and decisions. Is that the general idea?
That's the general idea because basically that's what writers are used to. It's not like it's like a presentation book. It's like a PowerPoint chart or something. You have little icons and they're connected to each other. So you have these scenes where the action actually takes place, and that's something writers know. They know how to create action out of these little paper things normally, and we are representing them in the digital world.
Okay, very good. Now we just saw Alexa, okay, but I understand that there are apps for mobile as well, and there's a fit for Gamebook with mobile applications. Can you describe that a little more?
Sure. The idea is to make it more graphical. So instead of just having the voice explaining to you what you're seeing, you actually have a location in the background. You can even make movie-like pans where you go around the whole location. You can have zones in the location, and then you have little pictures of your characters, and when they talk, the picture pops up. They have an attitude. They even might have, they're smiling. We have a colored circle in the background, so to enhance the mood they're actually representing. And then there's a dialogue beneath that, and then you get to make your choice, and the story continues.
Okay. Now I understand though that it doesn't create the mobile app for you. It creates the source material for the mobile app. Is that correct?
Yes, it creates the content creation, which is the thing that is the most complicated, because basically if you want to do storytelling apps in a good way, then you need to provide enough content. And that means you have to produce content very fast and very efficient. And that also means you need a software that the writer can use and not the programmer. And that was always what we had in mind when we came up with Gamebook. We wanted to create something that an author would look at and say, okay, I like to work with that.
Now, I hope it's not a faux pas to mention, but I understand now Alexa is an Amazon product, but I understand you're using some Google technology in there too. Can you elaborate a little more?
Sure, absolutely.
Why?
Oh, why? The point is we're using Google's Dialogflow for the Dialogflow for the interpretation of language, and that's basically because it has to do with context sensitivity. Meaning, let's say you're creating an app where you're playing with your dog in the park, and your dog decides to run left, and so you might say something to Alexa like "go left" or "head left," or you might say "follow the dog." And the next thing your dog does, it jumps to the right, and you might now say something like "go to the right," or you might say "follow the dog," and that doesn't work with Alexa, because Alexa basically would say, "No, you already told me that follow the dog means left, so it can't mean right now." And Google handles that differently. Google's Dialogflow is context sensitive, so it allows to create a different meaning of a phrase in a different setting.
So it sounds like there's a lot more flexibility as to how it interprets the language.
Yes, and the idea is originally Alexa is a sales product. So if you want to buy pizza is always the same command, no matter where you are in your app, in your skill. But if you want to tell a story, go follow the dog can mean something totally different from one situation to the next. So you need this flexibility to tell a good interactive story.
Okay, good stuff. So how can people get their hands on Gamebook?
We are starting with the closed beta in May, and they can go to our website and just fill out a little form and tell us why they want to do and use it, and then we will get them into the closed beta.
Are there any big announcements coming up?
There are some big announcements coming up. We're gonna have an app coming up in April starting. I can't talk much about it, but it's very interesting with a big Asian partner. And there are some more interesting things coming this year. Keep your eyes peeled on us.
All right, good stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
This is Neil Schneider from MTBS at GDC 2018. We will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.